Now, Ukraine has claimed a major scalp in its continuing fight against Russia, marking another successful attack on Vladimir Putin's prized Black Sea fleet. The warship Novocherkassk was sunk by a Storm Shadow missile developed by Britain and costing a whopping £2.5 million each. They are the longest range missiles available to the Ukrainian military and are GPS guided with pinpoint accuracy. Joining me now is former senior military intelligence officer Philip Ingram. Philip, always good to speak. Good morning to you. This sounds, certainly from a layman's perspective, it sounds like a very significant hit. Would that be right?
It's very significant. You know, when you consider Ukraine, a country which has virtually no navy whatsoever, has managed to sink or damage completely at least 20% of Russia's Black Sea fleet. That's significant. And this is another significant blow to Vladimir Putin and his ability to protect his assets inside occupied Crimea.
And in terms of where next, I mean, is this a kind of one-off, this use of this kind of military capability? Are they hoping to do this again and again? Would that be the aim?
Well, we've seen it used several times beforehand where a submarine in dry dock has been destroyed, other capital ships have been destroyed using Storm Shadow. And the Storm Shadow missiles and the French equivalent, the Scalp, which is exactly the same missile, just with a different name, it has been used to fantastic effect against more operational level targets. Your command and control headquarters, the Black Sea Fleet headquarters itself, logistic bases, air bases, and this is having a significant impact on Russia's ability to support its frontline operations. And whilst there's not much movement on the front line in Ukraine, actually what the Ukrainians are managing to do is hollow the Russians out behind that. And as we know, if you hollow out underneath the foundations, eventually the wall will collapse.
Just talk us through, if you can, in terms of the British connection to this. So we supply this kind of capability. Does it stop there? What about the training and use of it, the implementation? What's our connection to all of that?
Well, the training and use and helping to integrate it onto the Su-24 jets that the Ukrainians have used to launch it has come from the UK and UK defence industry as well. And support is continuing from UK defence industry. And the other important thing is targeting these missiles in. And there's an international collaboration providing intelligence to the Ukrainians so that it can help you target something. There's no point in having a missile with pinpoint accuracy if you can't identify where you want that pinpoint accuracy to hit and when you want it to hit there. So the UK is contributing quite heavily to that international intelligence operation that is supporting Ukrainians as well.
Yeah, I would imagine that I mean, despite the fact this is GPS functioning, it's a bit more than just pressing send on a keypad, I would imagine.
Oh, a little bit more, yes. But it is a fire and forget missile. Once it's left the aircraft, its path to the target has been pre-programmed in, and that's pre-programmed to avoid all of the air defense systems, to fly in a map of the earth type way, to mean that it is avoiding being identified and picked up by the Russian air defense systems. And of course, there've been several attacks beforehand putting holes in the Russian air defense systems the whole way down. So Ukraine is having some quite significant success in attacking into Crimea.
And I would imagine, I mentioned there about British assistance in terms of the military. I know that British military have been involved quite significantly with the training of pilots as well in Ukraine.
Yeah, training of pilots, the initial training of Ukrainian pilots has been completed. The first batches have gone through the UK. They're then going off to do their conversion training to F-16s. And the UK has been training huge numbers, tens of thousands of Ukrainian troops to go on the front line. So they're taking essentially civilians and putting them through a good course that's turning them into capable infantry soldiers. And then when it comes to specialist equipment, the UK is helping to support the training of individuals in artillery, in armoured warfare, whether that be using infantry fighting vehicles or whether it be using tanks, and of course the logistic support that's needed behind that. So UK is one of the leaders and the key coordinators of training for the Ukrainian forces as they develop their new capabilities.
There has been a sense, Philip, that support, financial military support, is, if not literally waning, but a certain sense that the spirit of support from some countries isn't where it should be, that it's kind of been relegated a little bit. I know that the EU have a Plan B funding package on standby, I think 20 billion euros. So these are still significant amounts of money that are coming in to assist Ukraine. Is it going to be enough?
Well, there's never going to be enough, and never in as quick a time frame as is needed to have the effect. But I think there's a couple of elements here. I think as the elections come in the United States, the UK, and elsewhere in 2024, we're seeing an increasing amount of what I call Ukraine fatigue in the press. That's not being matched by the political support that's going into Ukraine. However, one of the issues that there is Ukraine needs this greater military support, and a lot of the basics that are out there, the defense industrial bases in the West, are just building themselves up to be able to supply the levels of ammunition that are needed, especially artillery ammunition in what's going on. And that's what's caused some of the pauses. There's been shortages of artillery ammunition across Ukraine. But I think that is being fixed, and being fixed quite quickly.
Yeah, I mean, just looking ahead to next year, which is just around the corner, of course, Philip, there could be a new administration in the United States, a new administration in this country as well. Are those changes, particularly the US being the kind of powerhouse of the Western world, as it were, is that likely to make a difference, certainly in our relationship to this war, if not the financial implications?
Yeah, it's got the potential to. However, I'd say we're probably not going to see much difference no matter who gets in, because there's been so much invested by the West already. If a new president came in and said he's going to change it and stop supporting Ukraine, then he's just wasted billions and billions and billions of US taxpayers' money. And the reality is, actually, the US is doing very well out of this in their different states, because where the US is investing its money in supplying arms and ammunition, that has to be replenished. That's replenished by American manufacturers. Those American manufacturers are in the constituencies of many of those that are being re-elected, and a president isn't going to want to upset those in both houses by stopping that funding from going through. So, I don't think there's going to be a longer-term issue.
I think Donald Trump thinks he can probably solve it, along with all other conflicts, but we'll come to him shortly. Joining us now is Ukrainian MP Oleksiy Goncharenko. Oleksiy, good morning to you, sir.
Hello.
Nice to have you with us. Give us your response, if you would, to the sinking of this Russian warship. This is a hugely significant response from Ukraine in this war. What's your reaction?
Good Christmas gift, both to Russians and to Ukrainians. I mean, that's great. And that shows that in reality, we have two wars in Ukraine. One war is Russian aggression against Ukraine. Second war, and it's a land war. And second war is a war for the Black Sea, which is very important. And like from the times of ancient Greeks, the Black Sea is a breadbasket. Now it's a huge source of oil coming to the world market and so on. So Black Sea is crucial. And Ukraine has significant successes in the Black Sea, destroying a big chunk of Russian Black Sea fleet. And we are very thankful to our UK friends and to the United Kingdom for the capabilities that we were provided, both Harpoon missiles, Shadow Storm missiles, which now help us to kick Russians in the Black Sea and to change the situation in the Black Sea, to open the corridor for Ukrainian food export, to stop starvation of millions of people in the world. So all of this is very significant.
Is there a concern, because we've seen these moments before where Ukraine has managed to punch above its weight in many respects and make a significant inroad into Putin's attempted onslaught. But then, of course, Putin comes back sometimes what appears to be stronger, certainly more determined, and perhaps more lethal.
Putin is determined from the very first day. It's 10 years ago he started this war. He wants to rebuild Russian empire. He's not going to stop in Ukraine. So about his determination, nothing is changing, unfortunately. And we should not wait for some changes. Putin can't stop. He only can be stopped. That's something we should remember. And yes, you're right that in a long range, Putin hopes that having much more like man force, much more people, huge resources, he can outweigh the West and he can achieve his goals. That's what he hopes on. And the free world, the democratic world should show him that it's not the case. That's very important. I think that we have all chances to finish the war next year, but everything depends on the level of weapon supply and military supply and all other kinds of supply and support to Ukraine. That's something we need to keep in mind. Just Putin's state budget of Russia now is more than 1/3 to military. It means that month military budget of Putin for war is $10 billion. Just imagine this number. And I mean that spending less, we can't hope to achieve real success, because today Putin has more money, more people, a lot of old style but still operational Soviet weaponry. So we need more to stop him.
And of course, he does have support from some other country, curious as that might sound to us. I mean, Philip, just to bring you back in on this point as well, can Ukraine, even with its allies, match the kind of money we're talking about here, as Oleksiy just said? I mean, this is a third of the money coming in to Russia goes directly to the military. You've got countries like China that are assisting, and many other places around the world. It's not just a one-man band in Putin sitting there in Red Square cooking up his wicked plans. He does have support and he does have money.
And elsewhere that's coming in, but it still doesn't even come close to the budgets that are supporting Ukraine. You look at the US budget alone, if it was only US supporting, it can outfinance anything that Russia can finance, even if they put a third of their total income towards their military. And the Russian defense industrial base can't keep up with what it's required to provide. And that's why they're having to turn to Iran for the drones and to North Korea for ammunition. And I certainly wouldn't want to put a North Korean shell into an artillery piece and pull the cord for it to go off. And the Russians have been finding that that ammunition is not reliable in the slightest. So, no matter what Vladimir Putin says, no matter what money he throws at it, he has to have the capability to do something with that money. And I don't think that capability exists.
Well, we'll watch with interest. Philip, thank you for your time. Oleksiy as well, thank you too, the Ukrainian MP with us here on TalkTV.